There's a habit that makes you instantly more attractive. Not physically, not superficially, but in a way that makes people lean in when you speak, remember you long after you've left, and feel drawn to you without understanding why. And here's the fascinating part. It's not about what you say. It's not about how you look. It's not about charisma or confidence tricks or fake body language hacks. It's about something so simple that most people dismiss it. Something so quiet that loud people completely miss it. It's the art of strategic listening. And if you master this one habit, you become magnetically attractive in every context: romantic relationships, friendships, professional settings, all of it. Today, I'm going to show you exactly why listening is the most underrated form of attraction, how it works psychologically, and how to develop this habit in a way that transforms how people experience you. By the end of this video, you'll understand that the quietest people in the room often have the most magnetic presence. Let's break down why. Here's what most people get wrong about attraction. They think it's about being interesting, being impressive, having great stories, being the life of the party. So they talk, they perform, they try to capture attention by being the loudest, the funniest, the most dramatic. And it exhausts people. Because here's the truth that psychology research has proven again and again. People are attracted to those who make them feel good about themselves, not those who make themselves look good. Studies from Harvard Business School found that asking questions and actively listening during conversations made people significantly more likable. Another study published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology showed that people who demonstrate genuine interest in others are perceived as more attractive, trustworthy, and desirable as friends and partners. The paradox is this: the less you try to be interesting and the more interested you become in others, the more interesting people find you. That's the quiet habit, being genuinely, strategically interested in other people. And it's magnetic because it's rare. We're going to explore 5 specific ways this quiet habit transforms your attractiveness, and each one reveals something profound about human psychology and connection. The first way listening makes you attractive: you make people feel seen. And in a world where everyone is performing, being seen is the rarest gift you can give. Think about your average conversation. Most people aren't listening. They're waiting for their turn to talk. While you're speaking, they're formulating their response, thinking about their own story, planning what impressive thing they'll say next. You can see it in their eyes. They're not present. They're in their own head. But when someone actually listens, when they give you their full attention, when they ask follow-up questions that prove you heard you, when they remember details you mentioned weeks ago, something profound happens. You feel valued. You feel important. You feel like you matter. Psychologists call this psychological safety. It's the feeling that you can be yourself without judgment, that your thoughts and feelings are valid, that someone genuinely cares about your experience. And people are magnetically drawn to those who provide this feeling because it's so rare. Here's what this looks like in practice. Someone tells you about their day. Most people respond with, "That's cool, let me tell you about my day." But a strategic listener responds with, "Wait, tell me more about that. How did that make you feel? What happened next?" That small shift from redirecting attention to yourself to deepening the other person's story creates connection. And connection creates attraction. When you make people feel seen, they don't just like you, they feel better about themselves around you. And that's a feeling people become addicted to. The second way listening makes you attractive: it develops genuine emotional intelligence. And emotional intelligence is one of the most attractive qualities a person can have. Here's why this matters. When you truly listen, you're not just hearing words, you're reading between the lines. You're noticing tone, you're picking up on what's not being said, you're understanding the emotional subtext. This makes you perceptive, insightful, someone who gets it without needing everything spelled out. Studies show that emotional intelligence is consistently ranked as one of the most desirable traits in both romantic and professional relationships. People with high emotional intelligence navigate conflicts better, provide better support, and create deeper connections. But here's the secret. You can't develop emotional intelligence by talking. You develop it by listening, by observing, by paying attention to the nuances of human communication. When you practice strategic listening, you start noticing patterns. You understand that when someone says, "I'm fine," in a certain tone, they're not fine. You recognize when someone needs advice versus when they just need to be heard. You sense when to push deeper and when to give space. This perception is deeply attractive because it makes people feel understood, not just heard, understood. Think about the most attractive people you know. I'm not talking about physical appearance. I'm talking about magnetic presence. Chances are they're emotionally intelligent. They read the room. They understand people. They know what to say and when to say it. And all of that comes from listening, from collecting data, from being genuinely curious about how humans work. When you develop this skill, you become someone people turn to, someone they trust, someone they want to be around, because you make them feel understood in a world where most people feel invisible. The third way listening makes you attractive, you create space in conversations, and space is where real connection happens. Most conversations feel like competitions. Who can tell the better story? Who can make the group laugh? Who can one-up the last comment? It's exhausting, and more importantly, it's not connecting, it's performing. But when you master strategic listening, you do something different. You create pauses. You ask questions and then wait for the answer. You don't rush to fill silence with your own commentary. And in that space, magic happens. People reveal things they didn't plan to reveal. They go deeper than they intended. They share vulnerabilities they normally keep hidden because your silence gave them permission to think, to feel, to be authentic. Psychologists call this conversational dynamics. Silence, when used strategically, increases the depth and intimacy of conversations. Therapists have known this forever. The best therapy isn't the therapist talking. It's the therapist creating space for the client to explore their own thoughts. You can do this in everyday conversations. Someone shares something. Instead of immediately responding with your take, your advice, your similar story, pause. Let there be 2 seconds of silence, then ask, "How do you feel about that?" That pause signals, "I'm not rushing past your experience to get to mine. I'm here with you in this moment." And that's incredibly attractive because it's incredibly rare. Most people are so uncomfortable with silence that they fill it with noise. But comfortable silence, the kind that says we don't need to perform for each other, that's a sign of deep connection. When you create conversational space, you signal confidence. You're not desperate to impress. You're not anxious about gaps in conversation. You're comfortable with quiet. And that comfort is magnetic. The fifth and perhaps most powerful way listening makes you attractive, it signals unshakable confidence. Think about it. Who talks more, the insecure person or the confident person? The insecure person needs to prove themselves. They need validation. They need to make sure everyone knows their accomplishments, their opinions, their value. The confident person doesn't need any of that. They're secure enough in themselves that they don't need external validation. They can sit back, listen, observe, and only speak when they have something meaningful to contribute. Psychologists have found that secure, confident people ask more questions and show more genuine interest in others. Insecure people talk about themselves more because they're seeking validation. When you demonstrate the habit of strategic listening, you're non-verbally communicating, "I don't need to impress you. I'm secure enough to be interested in you instead." And that's incredibly attractive. It's the difference between a person who enters a room trying to be the center of attention versus a person who enters a room calmly observing, only speaking when it matters. The second person has quiet authority, quiet magnetism. History's most charismatic leaders understood this. They listened more than they spoke. When they did speak, people leaned in because their words were rare and therefore valuable. Think about someone you know who exudes confidence without being loud. Chances are they're comfortable with silence. They don't feel the need to fill every gap. They're content to listen, learn, and observe. That self-containment is attractive because it's evidence of internal security. You're not dependent on external validation. You're not performing. You're just present. And in a world full of performers desperate for attention, presence is magnetic. So how do you actually develop this habit? How do you become a strategic listener in a practical, authentic way? Here are 5 specific techniques you can implement immediately. Technique 1, the follow-up question. When someone shares something, resist the urge to respond with your own story. Instead, ask a follow-up question that goes deeper. They say, "I had a rough day at work." Don't say, "Me too, let me tell you about mine." Say, "What made it rough? What happened?" This simple shift keeps the focus on them and shows genuine interest. Technique 2, the reflective summary. After someone shares something significant, reflect it back to them in your own words before responding. They say, "I'm thinking about quitting my job because I'm just not passionate about it anymore." You say, "So you're feeling like the work doesn't align with what matters to you anymore, is that right?" This proves you heard them, gives them a chance to clarify, and makes them feel understood. Technique 3, the comfortable pause. Practice sitting with silence for 3 seconds after someone finishes speaking before you respond. This does 2 things. It gives them space to add more if they want to, and it shows you're actually thinking about what they said rather than just waiting your turn. At first, 3 seconds will feel like an eternity, but with practice, it becomes natural, and the depth it creates in conversations is remarkable. Technique 4, the curiosity question. Instead of making statements, ask questions that show genuine curiosity. Not, "Oh, you should definitely try that restaurant downtown." Instead, "What kind of food are you in the mood for? What's your ideal dining experience?" Questions invite dialogue, statements shut it down, and dialogue creates connection. Technique 5, the nonverbal engagement. Listening isn't just about being quiet, it's about active engagement. Maintain eye contact, nod at appropriate moments, lean in slightly, put your phone away. These nonverbal cues signal you have my full attention. Small behaviors, massive impact. The key with all these techniques is authenticity. If you're just going through the motions to manipulate people, they'll sense it. But if you're genuinely interested in understanding people better, these techniques amplify that genuine interest into magnetic connection. Now let's talk about why this works at a deeper psychological level. Humans have a fundamental need to be understood. Psychologist Abraham Maslow included esteem needs in his famous hierarchy, the need to feel valued, respected, appreciated. In our modern world, this need is rarely met. Everyone's broadcasting, nobody's receiving. We're all talking at each other, not to each other. So when someone actually listens, truly listens, they're meeting a core human need that's chronically unfulfilled. That's why it feels so good. That's why it creates such strong attraction. It's not a trick, it's not manipulation, it's genuine human connection in a disconnected world. There's also something called the Benjamin Franklin effect. Franklin discovered that when you ask someone for a favor, they like you more. The psychological explanation is that people justify their actions. I helped them, so I must like them. Listening works similarly. When you give someone your attention, when you show genuine interest, you're giving them the gift of being heard. And paradoxically, this makes them value you more. You're not taking from them by listening, you're giving to them, and people are attracted to givers. The final psychological principle at play is scarcity. In a world where everyone wants to talk, someone who actually listens is rare, and humans value rarity. Your attention becomes more valuable because it's in short supply. When you finally do speak, your words carry more weight because they're not diluted by constant chatter. This is why the quietest person in a group often has the most influence. When they speak, everyone listens, because they've earned the right to be heard by first giving others the gift of being heard. Let's get specific about where to apply this habit. In dating, on your next date, set a goal. Ask 10 questions before talking about yourself. Not interrogation, genuine curiosity. Learn about their passions, their childhood, their dreams, their fears. By the end of the date, they'll feel like they've had the best conversation in months, and they'll associate that feeling with you. In professional settings, in your next meeting, speak last. Let everyone else share their perspectives. Listen, take notes, ask clarifying questions, then synthesize what you've heard and add your perspective. You'll be seen as thoughtful, strategic, and collaborative. Leaders are listeners. In friendships, next time a friend shares a problem, resist the urge to solve it or share your similar experience. Just listen, ask questions, be present. Often people don't want solutions, they want to be heard. Be that person. Your friendships will deepen dramatically. In family relationships, this is where it matters most and is often neglected. When your partner or family member shares something, put down your phone, turn to them, give them your full attention. Small moment, massive impact on relationship quality. The habit of strategic listening transforms every relationship in your life, not because it's a trick, but because it's the foundation of real connection. Here's what I want you to remember. Attraction isn't about being the most impressive person in the room. It's about making others feel valued when they're with you. And the fastest way to make someone feel valued is to genuinely listen to them, to be interested rather than interesting, to give them the rare gift of your full attention. This quiet habit, strategic, genuine listening, is the most underrated form of attraction there is. It works in every context. It builds every relationship. It transforms how people experience you. The loud people will always get initial attention, but the listeners, they create lasting connection. They build deep relationships. They become unforgettable. In a world that's screaming for attention, the most attractive thing you can do is pay attention. So, here's your challenge. For the next week, implement just one of the 5 techniques we covered. The follow-up question, the reflective summary, the comfortable pause, the curiosity question, or the non-verbal engagement. Pick one. Practice it in every conversation. Notice what changes. My prediction? People will start seeking you out. They'll want to talk to you more. They'll open up to you faster. They'll feel drawn to you without understanding why. Because you're giving them something everyone wants and almost nobody gives. The experience of being truly heard. That's not a trick. That's not manipulation. It's genuine human connection. If this video changed how you think about attraction, drop a comment with the word "listen" and let me know which technique you're trying first. Share this with someone who talks too much. They need to see this. Subscribe for more psychology that transforms how you show up in the world. And remember, the quietest habit is often the most powerful one. Stop trying to be heard. Start making others feel heard. That's where the magic is.